If you've at all been in the lifestyle design, like self-improvement space, you've probably heard the concept of designing a life you don't want to escape from. And I think for a long time, I misrepresented what that meant. And I think hearing other people talk about it, the way I interpret it now, most people misrepresent what it means. When I first heard design a life you don't want to escape from, I was instantly thinking like living in a beach town, going surfing every single day, sipping coconuts, chilling out, not doing any work. Or maybe depending on what you enjoy doing, it might look different. Maybe it's having a bunch of supercars in the Hollywood Hills with a beautiful pool in the backyard overlooking downtown Los Angeles. It seems like everything's perfect. But the more I've dove into the concept of building a life you no longer want to escape from, it stops being this like end goal, destination that you get to like one day, but something that you build into every single day. If you were to ask me even a few years ago what my dream life would look like, or what a life you didn't have to escape from looked like, I would have been like, yeah, just deposit like $10 million into my bank account and I'll figure it out. And I hear a lot of students that I start working with, other creators that want to create full time, if they haven't really thought about what they want out of life, when I ask them, hey, like what would your dream day look like? Or what would your dream life look like? They'd be like, well, I just want to have so much money that I never have to work again. And I've said the same exact thing, but I just think it's not true. I think that's what you think about when you haven't thought about what your dream life looks like. You're like, I don't like what I'm doing right now. I don't like my boss. I don't like my teacher. I don't like the work I'm doing. My coworkers are annoying. My classmates are annoying. The friends I hang out with suck, whatever it is. I just want so much money that essentially fuck you money. I want so much money that I don't have to deal with any of my problems. And throughout the years, as I've had more financial success, I've realized that money solves money problems. And then after that, you kind of just have problems. But I feel fortunate enough to have been thinking about designing a life you don't want to escape from the beginning. So as my money problems have gone away, I think a lot of my more intense, not understanding life problems have gone away. I don't want to sit here and, say by any means all of my problems have gone away, because that's couldn't be further from the truth. But I've been intentionally moving towards building a life I don't want to escape from, and designing it in a way where each and every day is something that I enjoy doing. It's purposeful. It's something I want to continue to build. Oftentimes in the entrepreneur space, I hear a lot of people building the company to then sell, not because they want to grow it and help people, but because they want that end result of like exiting and having a bunch of cash. And to each their own. I think once you have that level of fuck you money, I'm sure a lot of the problems, and you can figure stuff out after the case. But if you don't, I think that might be one of the scariest things ever. Some of the most sad people in the world are like really rich people. And my guess is because they have all the money that like everyone claims, like once you have this, you'll be good. And they're still not good. So my thought process behind this is, let's build a life that helps me generate more money, but also helps me work through these problems over time. That way, when I do have that big exit, or have the fuck you money, or whatever the end goal amount of money is, which by the way, I don't think ever actually is like a target you hit. I think people just always want more. But say you do hit that number, that way I'm not just left with like, oh, I got the money. Oh, wait, I don't enjoy anything I do, or how I look, or the friends and people around me, or whatever. And I would encourage you, if you do have that thought of, I just want so much money that I don't have to do anything ever again, I think that's a bit of a cop-out answer. I think that's just you hiding your problems behind money being the issue. Granted, there are money problems, right? Like if you're like, dude, I'm going to get kicked out of my apartment. I can't afford rent. It's like, okay, yeah, you can solve that with money. But chances are working on building a life you don't want to escape from is probably more of the answer. I think I got obsessed with this idea of lifestyle design and being very intentional when I read the book 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. A lot of you guys have probably heard of this book. A lot of you guys have probably read it. It's very, very common in the content creation space, the entrepreneur space, the self-improvement space. It's very much so like the ideal life, right? Work 4 hours a week, do whatever you want. Like on the book, it has like the palm trees and stuff. I had read that book after I went through a period of building up my business and not really focusing on life other than the financial element, other than the creating and helping people element, which by itself is really fulfilling. But I think I had my head down for, 4 years building my YouTube and creating content and building software and products. And then I looked up and I was like, oh, there's a lot of other elements of life that are also enjoyable that I'm like severely lacking in now. And I read that book on a trip that I took my girlfriend to Florida. This is at the time I was still living in Chicago. I took her on a trip to Florida for her birthday, and we were both reading on the beach. And I had this book for a really long time. I just never decided to read it. So I started reading it, and he talks about, Tim Ferriss in this book, 4-Hour Workweek, talks about this concept of going through mini retirements. It's basically challenging the traditional concept of retirement. You work really hard and you save and invest in your 401k, and you put money aside and you buy real estate and you do all the getting to retirement thing. You own your house, you invest, all that. And then at age 65 or whatever age you're like financially secure, you just stop doing everything and just like chilling. What he proposes in this book is going through cycles of mini retirement. It's going through and working and ideally building a business that allows you to continue to run it from wherever. That way you can go through periods of extreme enjoyment and traveling and almost like this mini retirement. And then periods where you're going through this locked in work. And I realized when I was reading this book, fortunate for me, I'd gone through this period, this 4-year period where I'd really locked in and built this amazing business that's pretty self-sustaining. And, I've done all the points up to maybe taking the mini retirement. And I think that's where it becomes even cooler, because I'm not exactly sure when 4-Hour Workweek was written, but he was, using language that made it seem like it was quite older. Like he was like doing a lot of business through email and all this stuff. But I think nowadays it's easier than ever to do these mini retirements, especially with online businesses, especially with like digital products and content creation. Like you have so much leverage that you can kind of do your work from wherever. And even if you're not wanting to do the work, a lot of the stuff is already automated. So it's not like you stepping away for a week, a month, or even a year is really even stopping anything. I think that first opened up the rabbit hole of trying to figure out, okay, what is it that I want in life other than making money? I had achieved survival needs and investments, and I was in a spot where I had reached escape velocity, I will say, right? The escape velocity of like really needing to do work for the sake of surviving. I had been making money for 4 years at that time, making good money, setting it aside, investing it. There wasn't like this dire need to be like, okay, next month I have to do this. I have to make money for this thing. It was, years and years out if I was just living at the current rate, right? So living within my means. So then I decided, okay, well, let's explore living in different areas. And we went to California and tried out that. And that was cool, but ended up not like actually moving there. And on a family vacation in Hilton Head in the Carolinas, I was like, oh, I kind of like this climate. Let's go try out Florida. So when we got back from vacation, hopped in the car, drove down to Florida, and just signed a lease in Tampa. And even after hearing his advice about lifestyle design, I still didn't really take that mini retirement. I just kind of changed the area of where I was living and continued to work. In Florida, stayed there for a year, met some incredible people, tried out different things of life, which is great. And then towards the end of my lease, there was actually like this crazy water pump noise. It was like buzzing under my apartment. So I just broke my lease early and I was like, let's go travel. Let's just go travel the world and be homeless for a little bit. So that was something that started off as, okay, maybe this would be a week or two, to ended up being 6 months. I went to Japan, Thailand, and Bali, did a lot of Asia, and did this more so mini retirement. I think I posted maybe 6 videos in 6 months So between that and my ongoing Creator Pass community work, and then a few people that I work with directly one-on-one, I was maybe working like 10 hours a month. So very much so on the hard side of mini retirement, right? Like if there's a pendulum swinging back and forth, I was about as far to like retired as you can get with like still working. And I think that was incredible. It forced me to be creative with my business and figure out a way to maintain my business while not really working, which I did really successfully, actually, just setting up systems in place. And I think a lot of it was the concept of like the results you're getting right now aren't due to the actions that you're taking today, but the actions that you took a month ago, 3 months ago, a year ago, 3 years ago, right? Like if you go to the gym today and you work out really hard, you won't look in the mirror and have 10 more pounds of muscle in a six pack. It's like, no, go do that for a year. And then even on the day where you don't work out, you'll still have the six pack and muscle. So I think a lot of it was due to that. And I wasn't having record-breaking months by any means, but it was really eye-opening to the fact that you can build a business that allows you to have the freedom to be able to choose when to grind and when to have a more relaxing time. I think that mini retirement also allowed me to think about what I enjoy, what I wanted to do moving forward. And a huge reason that I think the mini retire was massively beneficial and probably will be really beneficial for my business in the long run is it allowed me to view what I was doing from like a zoomed out lens because I was no longer in the weeds so much. It made me think, okay, well, what is the thing I want to do moving forward? Life's long. I'm 27 years old. I love business and creating content and entrepreneurship and self-improvement. There's probably things that I will do for a very long time. I have no clue what they are right now. But it allowed me to zoom out and be like, okay, well, I do love these things. Let me start focusing my content more on that. Before I was very much so video editor. And now I think as over the years, I've been content creator and entrepreneur, self-improvement. I love health. I love reading books. And that it also made me think that, like, okay, one day I want to be an author. And I think building a life you don't want to escape is building a life that allows you to escape when you want to. Not that you want to completely ditch what your life is, but maybe you want to change the environment or travel or try something new. But having the freedom and the flexibility to be able to do that is in essence building a life that you don't want to escape because it allows you to then go and do that. And I can't think of an easier way to do that now than like online with content. Sharing your life and having people bought into your message and your story is, I think, the clearest path to being able to pivot and change. I see so many people online, one example, love him or hate him, Jake Paul. That dude him and his brother started as Viners, or I think it was Vine. Yeah. They started as Viners, then they started doing YouTube, the Disney Channel, he started boxing. And then yesterday on my YouTube feed, he's like building a ranch and like did like a ranch tour of like all these like different things. And he's like basically, essentially, it seems like building a reality TV show around this ranch thing with like ATVs, fishing, jet skis, farm life stuff. And I think that to me just proved that if you have people bought into your brand and attention around you, you can pivot and build a life that you want to be living, right? Like I think when he was acting in Disney, it was probably pretty easy to just stay doing movies and TV shows and acting. And then like when he was boxing, to just be a boxer forever and like go down that rabbit hole. And now he has a farm. So I just thought that was really interesting. It shows that if you're willing to take risks and try to build that life that you don't want to escape, you will have to do things that normal people don't, right? The concept of people are fat, in debt, and divorced. Most people are. That you have to do different things than those people to get different results. If you can't tell by this episode, I am very much so obsessed with like lifestyle design and just trying to build basically like the dream life for yourself. So there'll probably be a lot of episodes moving forward that have similar topics and talk about a lot of the lifestyle design, like building the life you want and stuff like that, because I find it super fascinating. After reading 4 Hour Workweek, I found that there's a whole community of people that also find that interesting. And one book actually that I read while I was out in Bali was Die with Zero. And for me, someone that I think I'm a little bit more of like a hoarder financially, like a scarcity mindset person. I think I do have a whole bunch of abundance in my life. But just the way I was raised, I do have like that deep down a little bit of scarcity. I like taking the money I earn and investing it and saving it. That way it grows and turns into more. That way it's more secure, and I have more safety later on in my life. But this book by Bill Perkins, Die with Zero, really shifted a lot of my thoughts on money and almost reopened this loop of like lifestyle design that I was like, okay, I kind of figured it out. Like you just like live below your means, you save and invest, and then you can kind of do something later. Almost the concept of retirement, but just like a little adapted, because like I think with content and making money online, it's way easier to be like, okay, well, I could probably reach that by like 30 or something, right? This book talks about the concept of, it's honestly kind of similar to 4-Hour Workweek. Enjoy your money on experiences that you can do while you're younger that you might not be able to do when you're older. Like, for example, you probably, like if you really wanted to climb Mount Everest, it'd be challenging at my age at 27. If that's something I really wanted to do, it'd be challenging. But at age 70, when maybe I have enough money for the flight over and lodging and all this stuff, like maybe you have to save for this trip, right? Like maybe it's an expensive trip for you. You might not be able to even do it because you're just that old. So it's like, it might be better for you to figure out some way or spend more of your money and be financially irresponsible and get this experience. And that's one thing that I've definitely prided myself on is I do like saving and investing money, but I'm very much so open to spending money for experiences for myself and for other people, and making trips and stuff a huge part of my life. He talks about this concept of memory dividends. So just how when you invest in the stock market, a stock can pay you out dividends like quarterly or yearly, basically just like money that they pay back the shareholders, separate from the growth of the stock itself. And he talks about how memories are very much so similar. So if you have a memory, I'm 27 right now, right? If I had a memory tomorrow of a really incredible trip that I went on with my girlfriend or my friends, I would be able to remember that memory from age 27 to whenever I die. So there might be 50, 60, 70 years, trying to do the math, maybe longer, of times that I can recall and relive this memory to some extent. Now, if I push that off 10 years, I can still probably recall that for a long time. But if you keep pushing off that memory to when you're more financially secure, or maybe you just don't value investing in memories, you might do it at age 75 when you're like, dude, I'm losing a lot of my ability to walk around and stuff, and I got a whole bunch of cash. Let's go experience stuff. But you might be able to only remember that memory for 5 years. He also talks about in this book the concept of many deaths. So in life, you obviously die once, and once you're dead, it's over. But he talks about as you age, there are things and parts of you that die that you'll never do again. There's actually something that was really terrifying that I heard in the book, that like at age 30, like most people will never sprint again. It's like a huge percentage. I don't know if it's most people, but it's a big percentage of people will never sprint again. So like the version of you that sprints dies at age whatever. And it was interesting because it unlocked this idea of like, there are things that you can do early in life. There are things you can do later in life. And if you're not intentional, you might miss an opportunity of like, for example, if you wanted to sprint, if you just don't take care of your body, you might wake up one day and be like, dang, I remember when I used to sprint, and then not be able to do it anymore. All that to say, I think one of my biggest priorities in life is designing a life that I don't want to escape from, one that allows me to have purpose and a mission and help people and find fulfillment, and that's interesting and inspiring every single day, and that I'm obsessed with this topic, and there will probably be a bunch of other podcasts on this exact topic. So I would love to hear any thoughts on what you guys think about what it means to live a life that you don't want to escape. But that's all I've got for you in this one. Peace.